Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. Here we are. We had a little bit of time off there for the month of month of August, and here we are now in September, and we're starting a new book on Friday nights. So I'm very excited and a little nervous and very over-prepared. So let's get going. So first off, let me just give an overview of the book from the publisher. It's a little bit long, but we've got plenty of time. So, Queen Kunti is a major figure in the history of the ancient worlds. Oh, so the book is Teachings of Queen Kunti. So there's a little section of the Bhagavatam where she speaks to Krishna, and we'll find out more as I read through this and as we read the introduction. But anyway, Queen Kunti is a major figure in the history of the ancient world. The wife of world emperor Pandu and mother of the warrior Arjuna, to whom Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-gita, she appears again and again in historical epics, such as the Mahabharata and the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Like other enlightened leaders of her time, her worldview was informed by thorough understanding of Vedic wisdom literature. Thus, she understood that Krishna, who happened to be her nephew, was none other than the absolute truth in person, appearing on earth to establish righteous rule over the planet. At the conclusion of the devastating battle of Kurukshetra, Queen Kunti approaches Krishna as he prepares to depart for his home city of Dwaraka. Kunti's spontaneous glorification of Krishna and her description of the spiritual path appear in the First Canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, chapter 8, verses 18 through 43. Srila Prabhupada wrote his translation and commentary on the First Canto in 1962, before coming to the West. But in a series of lectures given in the spring of 1973 in Los Angeles, he analyzed Queen Kunti's prayers in significantly greater detail and shed even more light upon them. So this book includes those lectures and his transcendental explanations. So in the description here in Facebook, you can find a copy of the book as a PDF, and I've also included a link to look at the family lineage to see how Krishna is related to Queen Kunti. So let's see if we can do that here in Second Life real quick, see if I can find the right slide. Nope, I can't find the right slide. Darn it. I thought I put it in there. Oh, Krishna. Let me see if I can just do that real quick. See if I actually left it out. I did. I can't believe I actually left it out. But real quick, let me stick it in there. I-N-E-A-G-E. Well, I think we're out of luck for tonight, but tomorrow night or next week, we'll look at it more closely. But just to say that Queen Kunti is Vasudeva, Krishna's father's sister. So he really truly is the nephew, and she is his aunt. So Queen Kunti. And Queen Kunti married Pandu, who was cursed, which is an interesting story. Bhaktiville asks if he can help. I don't know what I did with the slide. It's okay. I'll put it in next time. Pandu was cursed by, oh gosh, and here I closed that window too. Pandu was cursed over an argument with a sage, and cursed that if he ever approached a woman for procreation, that he would die. So consequently, he did not have sex with his wives. Queen Kunti had a special dispensation that she could have children. She was given a boon from a sage that she could have children with any demigod she wanted. And so with permission from her husband, she did that. She had her first 3 sons with different demigods. And then Madri, yes, Bhaktiville says he did not know that. Yes. And so Madri, her co-wife, Pandu's second wife, had twins. And ultimately, King Pandu died eventually because of this curse. All right, so let me start to read the introduction. Find it. Okay, so introduction to the book itself. Any questions about that little snippet that I said there about what was happening? Oh, Bhaktiville is texting me again. Not me. Okay, so let's close this chat and use nearby chat. Okay, so the introduction. Here we go. The tragic and heroic figure of Queen Kunti emerges from an explosive era in the history of ancient India. As related in the Mahabharata, India's grand epic poem of 110,000 couplets, Kunti was the wife of King Pandu and the mother of 5 illustrious sons known as the Pandavas. So when Pandu died, Madri, his second wife, went into the funeral pyre with him. And so Queen Kunti took care of her 2 sons. Her 2 sons, I just said their names a minute ago. Anyway, she took care of her 2 sons. So they all became her kids. Oh, Nakula and Sahadev are the 2 sons, the twins. So that's why they say here, the mother of 5 illustrious sons known as the Pandavas. So, and those sons just are Yudhisthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev. All right. As such, she was one of the central figures in a complex political drama that culminated 50 centuries ago in the Kurukshetra War, a devastating war of ascendancy that changed the course of world events. The Mahabharata describes the prelude to the Holocaust as follows. Pandu became king because his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, had been born blind, a condition that excluded him from direct succession. Some time after Pandu ascended to the throne, Dhritarashtra married Gandhari and fathered 100 sons. This was the ruling family of the Kaurava dynasty, of whom the eldest was the ambitious and cruel Duryodhana. Meanwhile, Pandu had taken 2 wives, Madri and Kunti. Originally named Prita, Kunti was the daughter of Shurasena, the chief of the glorious Yadu dynasty. The Mahabharata relates that Kunti was gifted with beauty and character. She rejoiced in the law, dharma, and was great in her vows. She also possessed an unusual benediction. When she was a child, her father, Shurasena, had given her in adoption to his childless cousin and close friend, Kunti Bhoja, hence the name Kunti. In her stepfather's house, Kunti's duty was to look after the welfare of guests. One day, the powerful sage and mystic Durvasa came there and was pleased by Kunti's selfless service. Foreseeing that she would have difficulty conceiving sons, Durvasa gave her the benediction that she could invoke any demigod and by him obtain progeny. So difficulty conceiving sons, yeah, because her husband couldn't, or he would die. So after Kunti married Pandu, he was placed under a curse that prevented him from begetting children. So he renounced the throne and retired with his wives to the forest. There, Kunti's special benediction enabled her to conceive, at her husband's request, 3 glorious sons. First, she invoked Dharma, the demigod of religion. After worshiping him and repeating an invocation Durvasa had taught her, she united with Dharma and in time gave birth to a boy. As soon as the child was born, a voice with no visible source said, "This child will be called Yudhishthir, and he will be very virtuous. He will be splendid, determined, renounced, and famous throughout the 3 worlds." Having been blessed with this virtuous son, Pandu then asked Kunti for a son of great physical strength. Thus Kunti invoked Vayu, the demigod of the wind, who begot the mighty Bhima. Upon Bhima's birth, the supernatural voice said, "This child will be the foremost of all strong men." Thereafter, Pandu consulted with great sages in the forest and then asked Kunti to observe vows of austerity for 1 full year. At the end of this period, Pandu said to Kunti, "O beautiful one, Indra, the king of heaven, is pleased with you, so invoke him and conceive a son." Kunti then invoked Indra, who came to her and begot Arjuna. As soon as the prince was born, the same celestial voice boomed through the sky, "O Kunti, this child will be as strong as Kartavirya and Shibi, 2 powerful kings of Vedic times, and as invincible in battle as Indra himself. He will spread your fame everywhere and acquire many divine weapons." Subsequently, Pandu's junior wife, Madri, bore 2 sons named Nakula and Sahadev. These 5 sons of Pandu, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, then came to be known as the Pandavas. Now, since Pandu had retired from the throne and gone to the forest, Dhritarashtra had temporarily assumed the throne until Pandu's eldest son, Yudhishthir, came of age. However, long before that time, Pandu died as a result of the curse, and Madri gave up her life as well by ascending his funeral pyre. That left the 5 Pandavas in the care of Queen Kunti. After Pandu's death, the sages living in the forest brought the 5 young princes and Kunti to the core of a court at Hastinapur, near the present-day Delhi. In Hastinapur, the capital city of the kingdom, the 5 boys were raised in royal style under the guidance of Dhritarashtra and the noble Vidura, Pandu's half-brother. But a smooth transfer of power was not to be. Although Dhritarashtra had at first recognized the primogeniture of Yudhishthir, he later allowed himself to be used by his eldest son, the power-hungry Duryodhana, who wished to ascend the throne in place of Yudhishthir. Driven by uncontrollable jealousy, Duryodhana plotted against the Pandavas, and with the hesitant approval of the weak Dhritarashtra, he inflicted many sufferings upon them. He made several attempts on their lives in Hastinapur, and then he brought them to a provincial palace and tried to assassinate them by having it set on fire. All the while, the 5 youthful Pandavas were accompanied by their courageous mother Kunti, who suffered Duryodhana's atrocities in the company of her beloved sons. Miraculously, however, Kunti and the Pandavas repeatedly escaped death, for they were under the loving protection of Lord Krishna, who had incarnated to perform his earthly pastimes. Ultimately, Duryodhana, a clever politician, cheated the Pandavas out of their kingdom and their freedom in a gambling match. As a result of the match, the Pandavas' wife, Draupadi, was abused by the Kauravas, and the Pandavas themselves were forced to spend 13 years in exile in the forest, to the great sorrow of Kunti. When the 13-year exile had ended, the Pandavas returned to Hastinapur to reclaim their kingdom. But Duryodhana bluntly refused to relinquish it. Then, after some unsuccessful attempts to quell the hostilities, Yudhishthira sent Krishna himself to secure the return of the Pandava kingdom by peaceful means. But even this effort failed because of Duryodhana's obstinacy, and both sides prepared for battle. To place Yudhishthira on the throne or to oppose him, great warriors from all corners of the earth assembled, setting the scene for what would prove to be a devastating world war. Fierce fighting raged for 18 days on the historic plains of Kurukshetra near Hastinapur, and in the end, all but a handful of the many millions of warriors were dead. Only Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, and a few others survived the massacre. The Kauravas, Duryodhana and his brothers, were devastated. In a desperate gesture of revenge, Ashvatthama, one of the surviving Kauravas, mercilessly murdered the 5 sons of Draupadi while they were sleeping. Queen Kunti thus suffered a final blow, the loss of her grandchildren. Arrested and dragged to the Pandavas' camp like a bound animal, Ashvatthama was let free only by the astounding compassion of Draupadi, the slaughtered boy's mother and Kunti's daughter-in-law, who pleaded for his life. But the shameless Ashvatthama made one more attempt to kill the last heir of the Pandavas, their unborn grandson in the womb of Uttara, by hurling the supreme Brahmastra weapon. When she saw the missile flying straight at her, Uttara immediately ran to the shelter of Lord Krishna, who was just about to depart for Dwaraka, his majestic capital city. Krishna protected the Pandavas and their mother Kunti from imminent death by stopping the weapon's uncontrollable heat and radiation with his own Sudarshan disc. Having delivered the Pandavas from this last calamity, and seeing that all his plans were fulfilled, Lord Krishna was again preparing to leave. For years, Duryodhana had tormented Queen Kunti's family, but Krishna had protected them at every turn. And now he was going away. Kunti was overwhelmed, and she prayed to Krishna from the core of her heart. Kunti was Lord Krishna's aunt, yet incarnated as the son of her brother Vasudeva. Yet despite this conventional tie with the Lord, she fully understood his exalted and divine identity. She knew full well that he had descended from his abode in the spiritual world to rid the earth of demoniac military powers and reestablish righteousness. Just before the Great War, Krishna had revealed all this to her son Arjuna in his words immortalized in the Bhagavad-gita, chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I incarnate myself in order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I advent myself millennium after millennium. Just check in and see if there's anything going on in chat. Oh, Kandita's here. Hare Krishna, Kandita. Sorry, I was completely absorbed in reading this. Haribol. All right, back to the text. Krishna had accomplished his purpose of annihilating the miscreants by orchestrating the destruction of the unholy Kauravas. Then he installed Yudhishthira on the throne to establish the Pandava reign, and he consoled the slain warriors' relatives. The scene of the Lord's imminent departure provides the setting for Queen Kunti's exalted prayers. As Kunti approached the Lord's chariot and began to address him, her immediate purpose was to persuade him to remain in Hastinapur and protect the Pandava government from reprisals. And she says, "Oh, my Lord, are you leaving us today, though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all the kings are at enmity with us?" That's from the Bhagavatam 1:8-37. And from this supplication, we should not mistakenly conclude that Kunti's prayers were self-serving. Although her sufferings were far greater than those any ordinary person could endure, she does not beg relief. On the contrary, she prays to suffer even more, for she reasons that her suffering will increase her devotion to the Lord and bring her ultimate liberation. Here's 2 more verses from the Bhagavatam. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from the poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Kunti's words, the simple and illuminating outpourings of the soul of a great and saintly woman devotee, reveal both the deepest transcendental emotions of the heart and the most profound philosophical and theological penetrations of the intellect. Her words are words of glorification, impelled by a divine love steeped in wisdom. From Bhagavatam 1:8-42, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you, without being diverted to anyone else. Kunti's spontaneous glorification of Lord Krishna and her description of the spiritual path are immortalized in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Purana, also known as Srimad-Bhagavatam, and they have been recited, chanted, and sung by sages and philosophers for thousands of years. As they appear in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti's celebrated prayers consist of only 26 couplets, verses 18-43 of the 8th chapter. Yet they are considered a philosophical, theological, and literary masterpiece. This present book, Teachings of Queen Kunti, includes those inspired verses and illuminating commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and the most renowned Vedic scholar and spiritual leader of our time. In addition to this commentary, originally written in 1962, Teachings of Queen Kunti contains further explanations that Srila Prabhupada gave more recently in an absorbing series of lectures. In those memorable talks, delivered in the spring of 1973 at ISKCON's Western World Headquarters in Los Angeles, he analyzed the verses in significantly greater detail and shed even more light upon them. This new Bhaktivedanta Book Trust publication, complete with 11 color prints of exquisite original oil paintings, will be a prized addition to the libraries of all those who seek a deeper understanding of life's mysteries. Written by a man of profound devotion and erudition, it will provide every reader with firm guidance along the universal path to genuine wisdom and spiritual enlightenment. The publishers. So, any comments about what we've just read? Oh, good. This is a great start. The introduction is really awesome. You know, what I was thinking was I have a link to the family lineage that you could look at. I'll put it here in chat. It's quite a wonderful little chart of everybody's relationship to everyone else. So you can see the how it all starts out. with the son, King Shantanu, the son of Kuru, and his wife, Ganga and Satyavati. And then it also shows Parashar Muni and Vyasa and what happens on that other side. And then you go down a couple of lines and you can see how Kunti and Vasudev have the same parents. And so then you can see that Krishna is the nephew of Queen Kunti and cousins with the Pandavas. So you can see that. I think it's such a great little chart. I put, Bhakti Mimulus asks if I put a link into Facebook. I put it in the blurb. That link is in the blurb. You never heard of the other two sons, Nakula and Sahadev? Those two, yeah, you don't hear too much about them. Yes, them, yeah. But they're all five of them married to Draupadi. Yeah, it's polyandry. Oh yeah. Yes. She spent 1 year with each husband. That was the arrangement. So
not kinky. That's not kinky.
So yeah,
it's
Bucky doesn't in chat. So doesn't look like we'll have time to go into the first chapter. So let's look at there's some plates from the book that I have in this. So see here, if you look at the slide viewer, it's Queen Kunti talking to Krishna. Read. One says, Lord Krishna, having delivered Pandavas many calamities, see his.
Yeah, that's Parikit did that painting.
Oh, nice. Let me finish reading this. Lord Krishna was again preparing to leave. For years, Duryodhana had tormented Queen Kunti's family, but Krishna had protected them at every turn, and now he was going away. Kunti was overwhelmed, and she approached Krishna to offer him prayers from the core of her heart. So who did you say had painted that?
Parikit Das.
Nice. So lovely. It's the second plate for this first chapter that we'll read next week. The description of that says, as Queen Kunti begins her prayers, she immediately reveals her knowledge of Lord Krishna's exalted divine nature. Quote, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everyone, yet you are invisible to all. End quote. So those are the two illustrations for the first chapter, which we will read next week. Do you know who painted this one, Kandita?
Yes, Jadharani or Shyamarani.
Right. They're both lovely. I mean, such amazing artwork.
Yes. It was empowered artwork. Many devotees feel that way. I mean, this came from Srila Prabhupada and their windows into the spiritual world.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Anything else anyone would like to add to this?
No. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we'll read chapters 1 and probably chapter 2 next week. Right. Talk with you later then.
Okay.
All
Hare
glories,
Krishna.
all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.